Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life After Extension Alumni Career Panel. My name is Heather Mason, and I'm the Career Services Specialist here at UC Berkeley Extension. First, I want to thank our attendees as well as our panelists for being here. Thank you all. Each of our panelists here today are not only alumni of our certificate programs, but have also each contributed to our professional internship program as participants and then mentors and supervisors of our student interns. I'll go ahead and allow each of you to introduce yourself to the audience. So Aybike, let's start with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm a growth marketing manager at Wovenmedia. After 8 years of experience in several agencies as a brand strategist, I realized that I like to see the client side of marketing communication. I accepted ING's offer and started to work as an assistant VP of marketing communication. End of my first year at an international company, I felt that I needed to have a deeper and broader understanding of marketing. I quit my job, moved to San Francisco to study language for 6 months. After that, to be honest, I had a few options, but I decided to apply to UC Berkeley Extension for many reasons that I will cover later on. That's my story.
Thank you, Aybike. It's great to have you here. And Camilo, would you
Yeah.
introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Camilo Navarro. I'm from Chile, South America. I graduated from UC Berkeley Extension in the MBT program, a 12-month program. I pursue my career in entrepreneurship and project management. And while I was studying, I came up with an idea that now is a company that is already running. It's called Will the World. I'm the co-founder and COO of Will the World, which is an online marketplace that allows people with disabilities, people with mobility disabilities, cognitive disabilities, sensorial disabilities, to find and book accessible travel experiences, meaning hotel rooms, tours, and activities in different parts of the world. And we connect them with our local partners, which are basically hotels and tour operators. And we are the intermediary between the supply side and the demand side. Simple words, we are building the Airbnb of accessible traveling. So I'm also going to tell you a little bit more about the company and myself later on.
Thank you, Camilo. Great to have you here. And last but not least, Carlos, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Heather. Hey, everyone. My name is Carlos, and I graduated from IDP in 2011. So I've been in the Bay Area for 10 years now. And after my experience as a student at Berkeley, I decided to start my own company. It's called Product School, and I'm the founder and CEO. What we do is we teach product management. And during this time, we've hired over 15 interns from IDP. So I'm very proud that we are able to pay it forward and now help that next generation of students. Many of those interns actually turned into full-time employees, and we were able to help them continue their journeys with us, which is another thing that I'm very proud of. The reason why I decided to study at IDP, I'm originally from Spain, and I studied computer science. And I was in love with Silicon Valley. I was in love with technology. I just wanted to have access to this part of the world. And when I came here, I had kind of two breakthroughs. One is that I met my people. As an engineer, I was in an environment where I wasn't really encouraged to speak up, to speak in public, to think business. I was kind of in this path to be always a software engineer. And I just soon realized that I wanted to leverage my technical background in a different way. And I found my people when I came to Berkeley. And then the second thing is that I was able to connect with many other incredible people from so many different parts of the world. I mean, having that type of exposure to different cultures was extremely refreshing for me. And since then, I not only fell in love with Silicon Valley, I fell in love with my experience as a student, and I fell in love with my wife. So now I'm married with 2 kids.
Thank you, Carlos. And thank you each for being here. It's really great to have you all join in our very first career week and this really important alumni panel to share your experiences. Now, Carlos, you touched on this a little bit already, but if you could please just expand a little bit, tell us about your studies for each of you. We'll start with Carlos. what did you study, and why did you choose to study at UC Berkeley Extension? Carlos, in your case, you may need to explain a little bit about the IDP program to start.
Yes, so I found about IDP online. I didn't know much about the different options. So I did my whole research and I prepared my application. And my goal was to learn more about business and have access to Silicon Valley. As I mentioned before, my background is in software engineering, studied computer science, and then another master's degree, another engineering degree in industrial engineering. So I really wanted to understand how to connect the technical part of things with business. So I decided to do a 4-month program in global business management. Then the next 4-month program was in marketing. And then the last program was an internship in startup. And that ultimately helped me realize that it was possible to build technology-based businesses, and that eventually inspired me to start my own business.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Camilo, I'll send this question to you next. Please tell us what you studied and why you chose to study at UC Berkeley Extension.
In my case, I came to Berkeley to study entrepreneurship and project management, which was something that really got, as Carlo, I was in love also with Silicon Valley and the Bay Area and all the entrepreneurial ecosystem, which for me was a very unknown field. So I think that the main driver was like to learn a little bit more about that. And then specifically the entrepreneurship and project management course was very specific around those type of issues. So that's why I decided to move here. Plus, I had some friends that they were already at Berkeley studying different things. So I have actually my co-founder, he came here before me, and he told me a little bit more about the Bay Area. And I was like, okay, I want to learn something that I don't know. I want to learn something that maybe will give me the tools to start a company. Back then, it was just like an idea that potentially could happen. Because my background, I went through business school, I studied then project evaluation, and I worked for the corporate sector for many years. And so for me, it was like an opportunity to see potentially something could happen, and it did. So I am also going to tell a little bit about that story too.
Thank you. Aybike, how about you?
I mean, as you know, guys, Bay Area is a beating heart of advanced technology and startups. That was one of the reasons why I decided to move to San Francisco and anywhere else. The reason why I decided to study at UC Berkeley Extension, I was able to try a different discipline, same as Carlos, global business management and then marketing. And so there was an extensive market that I could find a great opportunity for myself as a starting point. And I study with many intelligent, talented people from all over the world, and we shared our know-how in marketing or product finance that helped me with my journey. And we are still in touch, and most of them stay here and build their own company or just like me, started working for the right company for them. And another thing, actually, instructors were up to date, and they help us find out our unique selling proposition that we can offer to potential employers or VCs, or just whatever the next step for us.
Great, thanks. Well, it sounds like you all were able to, use your experience at Extension to develop your network and expand your professional know-how. But I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about following your Extension experience. How did you go from completing an Extension certificate to make your way to where you are now? So if Camilo, we'll start with you. If you could tell us about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So in my case, I think that there are three main reasons which I think that it was so good to come here to Berkeley Extension, which led me to the point that I'm now. And so the first one is the content around the academic, the whole courses, lectures, the professor, the instructors, because they were so into the entrepreneurial world, it happened that for me it was a great opportunity to explore within classes, learning new things about how a startup should be built and getting ideas on how my company should also be built, which gave me the opportunity for both myself and my co-founder, like to explore more deeply about starting a company. So I would say that the first thing was like, imagine, it's like coming to learn like how to start a company. And if you have an idea, I guess that is the best way to just start a company. So that's the first part. The second, I would say that is the ecosystem, you know? One thing led to another. I know that it sounds like a cliche, but the reality is that within that idea, I got accepted, for example, in Skydeck, UC Berkeley Startup Incubator, which was also another step to keep growing the idea and potentially the business that I'm working now. So all those type of things that are available here at campus, it's amazing. Like some of you already said, like the people, very smart people, talented people, so you can discuss the idea with those people too. So that's I would say that the second point. And the third one is what happens after school. You know, there is like a whole, I would say, kind of a community that really is into the entrepreneurial world, the startup world, and that's, for example, myself, I have been able to give lectures at school. I have been able to make coaching of pitches, like startups that are already like starting. And then Berkeley is also my investor too. UC Berkeley, I can say that proudly, is also one of our investors. So I think that it's beyond what happens in the classroom. And I think that plus the combination of like the smart people that then you can hire them. I already have 2 people full-time working for Will the World. So which it's really, really amazing. I don't know if I answered the question, but I would say that's it.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like you found a lot of support and throughout, you know, just following your educational experience as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Carlos, we'll go to you next. Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today following your experience at Extension.
I actually resonate with Camilo's story because for me, I also think of the UC Berkeley Extension experience as a stepping stone into literally switching careers and trying something new, which was my original goal. And I think that was the key. When I came here, I had a goal. I didn't know exactly how I was going to get there, but I knew that I wanted to try something different. There was my opportunity to leverage my technical background in a different way. I knew that I wanted to learn topics that I wasn't exposed to in my traditional school. I knew that I wanted to do an internship at a tech startup where I would be able to do something different. And then hopefully some of those experiences combined would allow me to have more clarity on the type of startup that I would build afterwards. So just to summarize, when I came here, of course, I had a lot of fun. And I think it's also part of the experience. And it's important to recognize that you are going to meet incredible people and that you are going to find time to travel, to enjoy and do so many things outside the classroom. But there was another part that was critical to me, which is using some of that time to do things related to Silicon Valley that I didn't have access to in my hometown, such as attending, in my case, events about startups. I was able to, literally, I bought a bike and I would put it in the BART many times on the weeknights to go to San Francisco, attend some of those events. Most of them were free. And I would be able to just learn from other founders. I was able to meet with different companies. And that was transformational because I was able to combine some of that experience and activities that were happening outside of the classroom with some of the learnings that I was acquiring just as a student. And then another part that I think was really helpful for me was to be intentional around the internship that I wanted to do. There are so many options. And once you finish your formal education, then so many of us have access to do an internship. And you can either go to a bank, a healthcare company, a large organization, a smaller one. I knew that I wanted to join a startup because I hoped that that would allow me to then learn how to build my own startup. So that was also really, really powerful. And I think I had certain things in mind, and I started my internship search process and I started my learning process while I was a student. I didn't wait until I graduated in order to start trying to figure out what to do next.
Thank you. And Aybike, we'll turn this question to you. How did you get to your current position?
Well, let's go back to the beginning of my journey in the US. As I mentioned, I'm a marketing person. It was a quite a bit challenging journey because marketing requires extensive knowledge about the culture and people. So I completed my internship at Bayer as an operational excellence intern. And as a newcomer, you may find American workplace culture different from your home country. And as I mentioned, it can be challenging. When I made my decision regarding my internship, I was clear that I want to get out of my comfort zone and try something new that might help me with my next step. I had a great mentor who helped me understand the culture and reshape the internship based on my goals and objectives. That's really important. That was really important, at least in my journey. I had a chance to be a part of their Lean Six Sigma, Green Belt, and Black Belt trainings, which might cost me a lot of money if I wanted to get it, somewhere else. And it was for free. It was a game changer. I ended up with merging my marketing knowledge with a quite different concept that I learned at Bayer, which led me to growth marketing, which is my current position right now at my current company and also as a freelancer. I started helping other startups to build their journey, how to start, because they, as you know, guys, a lot of startups are not able to hire full-time marketing person, which means there's a great opportunity for me.
Thank you. And so you each kind of touched a little bit on your internship experience, but I'm hoping that you could actually just give us a little bit more information. Maybe you can tell us what were some important lessons that you learned in your internship. Carlos, we'll start with you this time.
Definitely. I just share a quick story. I remember when I went to the office of this startup, there was someone there at the door and said, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" And I said, "Well, a glass of water." And he then brought me a glass of water. And then when I went to the interview with the recruiter, he said, "Do you know who is the person who brought you that glass of water?" I was like, "No." He said, "Well, that's the founder and CEO." And that really, I always share that story because that really marked my life. I realized that you can, the environment here, it's super collaborative, and it doesn't really matter what title you have. We are all pushing in the same direction. And that was just the beginning. After that experience, I obviously ended up joining, and I joined the marketing team. And I was the first, the only person in the marketing team that knew how to code. And I intentionally chose to do something very different from what I used to do, just to push my limits and think outside of the comfort zone. And I had a great experience. I realized that marketers would appreciate the technical background that I would bring to the table. It was also great for me to learn about marketing in this case, but it was also very refreshing to realize that the engineers in that team would also want to connect with me because I was able to speak that language. So here I am, technically as an intern, but it didn't really matter. I never considered myself an intern, and never did they. It was all about having a fantastic experience where I could contribute to a high-performing team. And those experiences that I had there led me to start my next business, because what we do now, like my company's called Product School, is we teach product management. I had no idea what product management was until that internship made me work kind of as a product manager. So it's incredible how life can help you connect the dots. And I think part of that is luck, but also part of that is just hard work and trying to say yes by default and putting yourself in certain positions that maybe it's just different or harder to do if you are in your hometown.
Great. I love that story. Thanks for sharing. Aybike, how about you? Um, Tell us about your internship experience and some lessons that you learned in your internship.
Um, I'm going to mention the cultural difference again. When I arrived here, I was kind of shy about asking for more. So this is one of the important lessons that I learned from my mentor at Berkeley. Nobody going to turn you down when you ask for more, when you ask to learn more. So my actually journey was other way around, of Carlos. So after I arrived here, I realized, oh, this is a journey, never ending learning. And I had to learn how to code, research, A/B testing, because I realized everything, every single thing that you bring to the table is important here. Yes, being an expert in wanting is great, but if you want to be in Bay Area and establish a long-term opportunity for yourself, you need to know a little bit of everything.
Thanks for that. And, when we were talking before uh, this presentation started, you mentioned that you also felt you had a quite different experience um, as a woman in your professional journey. I was wondering if you could just touch a little bit on, some lessons maybe you learned along your way.
Well, as I mentioned, Bay Area is the heart of technology, and which comes with a lot of stereotyping for female. I had to deal with some of those challenging experiences, but what I learned on the way, uh, uh, you just need to keep improving yourself and find the right people to do business together. There's always going to be challenges. There's going to be always someone who is going to, stereotype and just tell you, woman, female in technology. But my lesson learned is never give up. If it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. And I'm happy I found the right place to work. We are 40% female. The company leads by a female founder in a male dominant market. So just keep trying. If there's anybody out there needs to hear it, just keep trying. Don't give up. You just need to find the right people to work.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And Camilo, I know you had quite a unique internship experience. Could you tell us a little bit about some lessons learned there?
Yeah. My internship experience was amazing because it really forced me to make that one decision that finally led me here. So it was 2017, and I was expecting to get, by the end of 2017, my internship. So I prepared myself a lot. I had the startup idea, but it wasn't really a business back then. It was just an idea. And we thought that maybe we could have it like as a side hustle instead of the full-time activity. So I was depending on getting that internship, which hopefully it was going to lead me to my full-time position. And I really liked the company. It was Nielsen, like the market research. I was going to work in tech, kind of in data science type of activity. So for me, it was like a great opportunity. And I still remember that point where I was talking with an investor about this startup idea. And he told me like, yeah, I might invest in your company. I might. And we discussed with my co-founder. We got accepted at that same time in UC Berkeley Skydeck startup incubator. So we were already like working there. And I still remember that hesitation and that I was freaking out, to be honest, because everyone was telling me, come on, like you don't have nothing, like it's just like an idea. The point is I decided with my co-founder, you know what? Life is too short. Let's give it a try. worst case scenario, I'm gonna have to move in with you, and we're gonna have to, I was already married, I'm gonna bring my wife and we're gonna figure it out. I don't know how, but let's do it. It happened that I did my internship at my own company because it was accepted as Skydeck, UC Berkeley Startup Incubator. So I incorporated the company on late 2017, and then I received my first angel check on February 2018, which started the company. My lesson learned is like, there's never the right time. Screw the right time. Just like focus on what really makes you feel like, oh, you have that feeling that you're not gonna be able to figure it out. Like, if you're already here, you're already smart to figure out like and solve problems. So don't worry too much. People sometimes they worry too much about the outcomes of what is gonna happen. You know, it's just like a matter of all in, and that's what I did. It worked out.
Wow, great story. Big gamble for big rewards. So thank you for sharing that experience. We're joined today by current students as well as prospective students and people from the community. I'm wondering, we'll start with Aybike with this one. I'm wondering what suggestions you have for those current or prospective students to help them prepare for, you know, maybe taking the next step in their profession.
Well, I can help them what is new in marketing and just be well prepared for the market. You probably heard about the growth marketing concept. Growth marketing is the next evolution of marketing industry. It takes a traditional marketing model, which has been around for decades, and enhance it with the new and different and sometimes uncommon approaches that creates sustainable growth. And keep in mind, growth marketing was born out of the limited budget of startup companies, which with a focus on acquiring customers through unconventional or less expensive means. That would be the first thing I would highlight. And another thing, as you know, guys, we all have been going through this COVID-19 situation, and no matter which company you work for, you need to understand the behavior in the next normal. We are all talking about going back to normal, but even if we go back to business as usual, there will be a shift in customer behavior and their decision-making funnel. And age-to-age, human-to-human marketing will be more important than ever. We all know all those CMS automation helps us to save some time and money as well, but human touch is going to be way more important. And brand relevance will be the new differentiator, I think, because now we discover our dark side. We have been spending too much time by ourselves, and the customer expectation is really high, and the brands need to adjust themselves and their strategy based on this new normal.
Yeah, thank you. Good insights and thoughts. How about you, Carlos? What suggestions do you have for, you know, maybe current students who are just at the beginning of their career or prospective students who are considering taking courses at Extension? What suggestions do you have for those people to help prepare them to take the next step?
Well, I can speak from my experience. I took this as an opportunity to do something that I couldn't do at home. I just didn't have exposure to global business management or marketing training. I also didn't have exposure to internships at startups, for example. So I think it's important, if you're going to invest not only money, but your time, to think about why. And if the answer is, at least in my case, it was, I want to build a startup long-term, but short-term, I want to work at the startup to confirm if this is actually what I want. Then once I joined, I decided to start taking steps in that direction. And school piece is important, but it's just not enough if your goal is to stay in the country and then eventually get a full-time job or start your own company. So for me, I always allocated some time to attend events, to meet other people, just to do more things. And then I was very intentional around the company I wanted to do the internship for, because technically it's an unpaid internship, and that's not doesn't mean that it's free for the candidate or for the company. As a candidate, you are going to invest time to join a company, and the company is also going to invest time in training you. So it's very important that this is a win-win relationship for both. For me, it was all about, I wanted to work in a startup. And obviously there's so many different types of startups. For me, it was about, okay, how can I join a fast growing organization that it's at least 20 to 30 people, so they have some sort of structure in place, but they also have plans for growth. I wanted to be part of that growth story. And I think I got lucky because literally that startup was fantastic. We ended up being acquired by Oracle during my internship. So I literally saw the process of going from, hey, we're all in the room trying to figure this out, all the way to, oh my God, we're being acquired by a public company, and then all the different changes that implies. I got so inspired by that experience that it's funny, at the end of the day, the founder and CEO offered me to stay. And I promise you, I really wanted to do it. I had access to OPT, but I was like, I'm so inspired by what happened here that I really want to give this a shot. And I want to be like you. I want to eventually start my own company. And long story short, I ended up doing it. And now I'm glad to give back to the community and try to hire as many interns as possible from IDP.
Thank you. Yeah. And Camilo, how about you? For, these current students or prospective students thinking about taking the next step, what advice do you have for them or suggestions?
Yeah, I think both advice from the panelists were like really good. I really like them. I don't want to repeat the same thing, but I would say, look, this is a very competitive world. Like we need to acknowledge that. Like you have most of the most talented people coming here. They wanted to work here, and they're willing to sacrifice so many things, so many like lifestyles, like working hours. So you really need to focus on if that is something that you really want in your life, and if you really want that, if you are like passionate enough, I think things will come together, like, because I know I have a lot of students. I mean, a lot of friends who are students now that some of them, they're like very frustrated because they don't find the job right away, because they don't understand how in their previous countries it was so easy to just find a job. And here it's like, oh my God, there's like 100 people. So you need to give that extra mile. I heard Carlos said something about the intention. You really need to have that intention. It's not, I just want to work in Google. No, it doesn't work that way. You really need to explain and to be true to yourself. Like, I really want to work in Google because A, B, and C. And A is something that is really, that I have some experience here and there, and I work for a startup that really was doing something similar, and try to connect things, because that's the only way that I think that extra mile that you're going to give is going to lead you to an internship, to the right company, and it's hard. And don't get frustrated. I understand that frustration. So many people, they can like spend 8 months without working and just like trying to find that job. Like finding a job is a full-time position, to be honest. It's in your own life company, to put it in simple words. It's a full-time job. You really need to like understand the company, understand the position. What are the trends in the growth marketing part? Like, it's a complete world that you really need to deep dive into it. It's not like, yes, I know some digital marketing. No, it doesn't work that way. You really need to like focus. The same thing with product management. Like, focus on understanding, do online courses, like go to Carlos product school, or like really take that extra mile. Like I feel that because in startups, for instance, we have limited amount of resources. I really need to make sure that that person that I'm getting into my company is giving that extra mile already, you know, and that's my suggestion. Like, it doesn't work like in other places that, I'm not saying that only here is very competitive. In other places might be competitive too, but I think that here is extremely competitive. So I would say that my suggestion is give that extra mile, like spend a lot of time. Don't never say, I don't understand this. This is too much. You can learn everything. Everything is online now. There's no excuses. The only excuse that there is I'm not passionate about something. I'm not interested on learning that. And that's a completely different story. But if you want to learn something, the information is out there. Like, you can just go and do it. Like, no excuses. Go in YouTube and you'll find like courses, or get into an online course, and you're gonna learn everything. So that's my suggestion.
Great. I love the passion and the enthusiasm that all of you have brought to this conversation, and with the suggestions and the insight that you share. I think we are going to turn to the Q&A now. We have some really great questions coming in. If you do have a question, if you're someone in the audience, feel free to go ahead and submit those questions into the Q&A. The Q&A function is at the bottom of your screen, and you can submit your questions there. I think I will now turn to my colleague, Luis, to read out a couple of those questions that are already coming in. Luis, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hi, panelists. We have a couple of questions in the Q&A. The first one being, how do you panelists manage the integrity challenges which are implicit in being an entrepreneur? The old cliche is all politics is local, i.e. knowing what is good business can be hard if you're an international student.
I think if I understood correctly that question, I personally disagree. Like, I don't think that like, because you're an international student, everything is going to become a little bit harder. I think that there's certain barriers that you need to just like just pass them. For example, the language. As a non-native English speaker, it will be like always harder for you to communicate properly. But if you mean by the integrity challenges which are implicit being an entrepreneur, I don't know if someone can explain a little bit more what you mean by that, but I think that there's like kind of I wouldn't say a roadmap or a book on how to do this, but there's certain frameworks that kind of explain you how to build a company, and there's stages that you really need to acknowledge that it's completely different if you work in a company that have raised, I don't know, $50 million of a one that have raised $2 million. So it's about the information that you manage around that specific stage that company is. And then it doesn't really matter if you are from one country or another. And I think that it's just a matter of how passionate you are for that idea in that stage that you are. And how you are able to execute those ideas. I don't know if I answered that question, but
maybe whoever asked the question, if you can elaborate a little bit, we're gonna move on to the next question. Could you guys shed some light on the process of getting an internship and how that was for you guys?
Maybe the process changed a little bit because I did my internship 10 years ago, but I started the process since the very beginning. So I didn't wait until I graduated my education piece to then start talking with companies. What I did was I started those conversations with some companies that were outside the list, because apparently I was allowed to also bring some startups. So I just had those conversations. Actually, one of my professors from Berkeley had a company, and they also offered me to continue collaborating during the internship period. But anyway, ended up working at one of the startups that were on the list at Berkeley. Berkeley does a great job curating that list. So they already give you all the options, and you can filter them based on your parameters. Actually, we're now part of the list. So if any of you, we're hiring for project managers, marketers, business operations. So if anyone in the audience is looking for an internship, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation. And then, as Camilo said, Berkeley is going to give you access to opportunity, but then it's up to each of us to take advantage of that opportunity, right? Like nobody's going to pass that interview for you, and nobody's going to promise you a job after that internship. So for me, it was all about really proving that I can do this. First of all, I tried to do something that felt a bit uncomfortable, because I chose, it was my opportunity to try working in something that I hadn't worked before. And then try to work hard, because I didn't feel like an intern at all. For me, this was an investment in myself to really prove that I could be at that level, and that environment was competitive, don't get me wrong. And then I just loved it so much that I also tried to explore different opportunities. But the point here is to, in my case, start the hiring process even before you finish your education, because I also saw some of my classmates who kind of let that pass and procrastinate, and then at the end it's like, oh my god, I have to do an internship, let me look at what are the available companies. Usually it's good to do some research, because it's just a big investment in your life.
Just remind us where you did your internship. Maybe all of you can remind us where you did your internship while in the program.
Yes, it was a social media startup called Involver. It doesn't exist anymore because we got acquired by Oracle. The funny thing is that I'm still in touch with many people from that experience. Actually, some of them are now working at my startup in different capacities. And the founder and CEO started in a different company, and we are good friends. From there, he's the guy who brought the water. So now every single time, or at least when we used to work in person, I'm the one who brings the water to every single candidate that comes to our office.
Aybike or Camilo?
Yeah, it was in my own company, as I said before. But in terms of the process of getting into an internship, I always like to suggest for candidates. I help a lot of I have helped a lot of like friends and people here to try to find jobs. Be specific, don't try to be too broad. Don't try to be like, okay, I'm just gonna shoot with a shotgun. No, you need to be a sniper. You need to focus on that specific company and focus in one problem that specific company has, and try to like promote a specific solution for that specific problem. What really counts here, and that's the way I hire people, is their problem solving capacity. What I really care is how they get through a problem, and how they think, the rationality behind the solution. That's what I really care. And the only way to kind of see that is when you are being very specific, because that really shows you how you approach problems. So try to find, again, that specific company, that specific problems, and just give it a try. Like, even if it is wrong, the solution that you're proposing, or like, believe me, those companies, they're going to appreciate that work, that specific work you did for them, in order for you to get that internship on, hopefully, a full-time position, if that's what you want to pursue.
Mine was Bayer pharmaceutical company. I just wanted to make sure I'm done with corporate life. So that's the reason why I decided to go for Bayer. That was fantastic. I mean, that was fantastic. I met my mentor there, and we are still in touch. I have learned a lot. But a lesson learned, I mean, all of you guys already mentioned, but you came here to get out of your comfort zone and work with intelligent, fantastic people. You're not here to work 9 to 5 and just do whatever you were doing back home, your home country. And when I moved here, I realized sky's the limit. You can learn whatever you want. You can work with whoever you want. And yeah, the CEO of the company can bring you water. It's very linear, and there's no such a thing like hierarchy here. You are on the top of the pyramid, the hierarchy, based on your knowledge. It doesn't matter if you are an intern, if you are a VP, it doesn't matter. Titles are just, I never negotiate for my title, and I will never do it. I negotiate for my responsibility and what I'm gonna do daily basis. So as Carlos mentioned, we all wanted that OPT so bad, but it's not about it. It's about the whole journey. What is your next steps? How are you going to reshape your own journey based on what you want to do? Because sometimes you have to work 20 hours a day and you wake up the next morning. You can't wait to go back to the office and keep working on what you were working yesterday. If not, probably you are not in the right place and you are not doing the right job. Then change it immediately, because you're going to spend on that screen or whatever you're doing more than you spending time with your family. Just do whatever that makes you happy.
Yeah. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next question. Assuming you have been involved in the hiring process of interns and employees, what in general has stood out to you the most among potential candidates?
In my case, I would say that the problem solving, as I said before, I really try to put people on the spot. It's like, okay, what you did last weekend? Okay, and please explain me what is the weight of the Salesforce tower? And I really need to understand how the logical thinking around that. For me, it is very impressive to see people with different backgrounds that they answer those questions like right away, and they're like very prepared, and they have a very like structured mindset if they need to have that structured mindset. So that's one part, like the problem solving. But the other one, and most importantly, is how aligned is that person and that person's life vision with the vision of the company. Okay, so in my case, our vision is like to make the world accessible, and we are like working those 20 hours a day that she was describing before. And I can see all of the people here in the company working a lot of time because they're so passionate about that problem that we're solving, that's kind of, for me, kind of the deal breaker between bringing someone on board or not. Like how much passion. I feel that passion is something that overcomes, and it's better than if you're smart or disciplined. Like passion is above that. Like that is gonna lead you to just always try to find the way to solve a problem, always try the way to add value to the company. So I would say that that's my point of view here.
In my case, I hired over 15 people from the Berkeley Extension program. Some of them, I offered them full-time positions and continue working with me. So I have a good experience doing that. First of all, I'm still involved in the hiring process. It's culture and personality fit is very important to us because we're also a startup. We're around 60 people now. So I want to make sure that this person can click with the culture of the organization. And I also want to make sure that the investment that they're going to make, those 4 months, are going to be worth their time. Because for me, this is not, and I tell them this is not an internship. Like, yes, you might have that title, but in reality, we're going to give you real world projects. We want you to make an impact. We want you to feel accomplished. We want you to be in a healthy environment where you can thrive. And hopefully this experience can help you achieve whatever goals you have next. So it's important to realize, because some people might not want to put in the work. And then I like to have an open conversation with those candidates to understand what that long-term plan is for them. Some people want to do this internship because they want to start a company, and that's fair. That's what I wanted to do. Other people want to do an internship because they legitimately want to continue working at that company. So it's important to have that open dialogue up front, just to make sure that there is alignment. And then, assuming that we are on the same page, I hire based on attitude. I'm assuming that you might not bring all the experience in the world, but that's okay. I want someone who's hungry to learn, to do whatever it takes. And if that's the case, then I'm sure we're going to find an opportunity to work together.
I think mine is curiosity. and asking the right questions, which kind of gives us hint of they well prepared and they really willing to work with us. And so far, I think we have hired around 10 interns, and we offer 2 of them long-term positions in the company. But what is really important, especially when you work for a startup, you need to be a self-driven and take the initiative, or whenever you receive a task, how you can just come up with an even better solution. So, and I think it comes from the curiosity and passion, as you mentioned, guys. That's really important. And for sure, blending in company culture. And yeah, I think that's all. But I think the core value is curiosity.
Thank you. We have another question. In business, if you lose your reputation, you lose everything. Are there specific challenges in being an international student and not losing your reputation, in light of both Berkeley and SF Bay Area being a very competitive environment for entrepreneurs? How did you navigate being an international student within that?
I believe that you can use that in your own advantage, actually. Storytelling is something very important here in the Bay Area and in Silicon Valley. You need to be very good at telling stories. And what is more like amazing, that the story of some international student that came to the Bay Area pursuing the American dream, right? So that's, you can always find a way to build that storytelling and use your experience as a way to kind of get some advantages. And again, I think that the most important thing here is what is driving you. I really like Aybike and Carlos' responses. Like, I completely agree. Like, you really need to focus on yourself. You know, it's not about how much money you're going to make in that company. How I was checking some of the questions around, like, what should I do? When should I receive a response of the job offer? Or like, don't think about those type of things. Think about the value that you can add to the company, to the startup. And that's what is going to let you to kind of move forward. You know, getting money, getting a position, getting a promotion is a consequence of doing something that adds value. And it's not, I want to be VP of marketing. No, it doesn't work that way. One of the things that I have realized in this whole process of getting people, we're a team of 20 people, so we're a small team. But it's the people that never expected to be managers are the best ones. You know, it's crazy, like, because they have so much to give that they don't realize that they're being managers. You know, like, they're like the right people for those positions. And that's, again, that's the explanation. That's the proof that you really need to focus on adding value in comparison of everything else. Your nationality, where you're coming from, your previous experiences, like, just focus on adding value.
Just a quick note on this question. Guys, language barrier is all in your mind. I learned this language 5-6 years ago, and one day I found myself 2 years ago, not much, while I was pitching an idea, I found myself saying, hey, I'm smarter in Turkish. And I'm from Turkey, and it's not about the language barrier. Just believe in yourself. I know it's so cheesy when you say it out loud, but you really need to believe in yourself and forget about the language barrier. Focus on what you want to learn, what you want to do, and people see that in you. That's the place people can see, smart people can see the talent and the passion in you. This is an extraordinary place. Being in Bay Area, working in Bay Area is not the same as anywhere else. That's just my note.
Thank you for that. And final question, we're running up on time right here. Any advice for networking during this pandemic, virtual networking, anything you can give insight to?
Well, I think you have the answer, guys. LinkedIn is out there, and we have way more time to be on LinkedIn and answer our messages and be there, be online. And you can still join events, just this one. And it doesn't mean we can't have in-person meeting. Just it doesn't mean we can't extend our network.
In my case, I think that this might work not for everyone, but for me it worked really well. I really focus on on the story of the company that I was building. Everyone felt very attracted to the fact that we were allowing people with disabilities to explore the world, and the networking was always around what I was doing and how big was the problem, and anything else. Like, it wasn't about me, my experience back in Berkeley, or my previous experience on my previous jobs. You know, it was all about that, and that really helped you to connect to people that, like, for me, it's still crazy to think that one of our investors is YouTube's CEO. So it's crazy how you can connect things, and how we end up with in a program, and Mark Zuckerberg, he presented our company in front of an audience. Because again, if you focus on the problem that you're solving, that generates like a network effect that is really important, rather than you pursuing that network effect that you want to achieve, like in a very how can I like forcing it too much, you know? Sometimes it's just better be yourself, and people will get attracted to that. If you are like pretending to be someone else, that's something that people don't like, you know? And you can see right away, even that person is like from here, like American, or from another country. You can see that right away. Just be yourself, you know, and chill out a little bit, and you'll see that everything will come together.
Thank you. Well, we're going to wrap up now. We're just at 1 o'clock, but I just want to give a huge thank you to all of our panelists, Camilo, Carlos, Aybike. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first career week at UC Berkeley Extension. You three bring so much to our community, and it is truly an honor to have you participate in this week. For all of our attendees, we have a really great lineup of events this week. There's one on LinkedIn tomorrow. There's also one on visas. And all of these events are meant to support you in your career advancement. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the remaining Berkeley Global Career Week events at the UC Berkeley Extension website, or using the link that was put into the chat. We look forward to having you join us this week, and we would really also appreciate if you could take a minute to give us your feedback on today's event. There's a survey link in the chat as well, and we will also be emailing it out. So thank you all so much, so much for being here. We really appreciate it.